5 p.m. And in studio with me is Nerima Wako, who is the Executive Director, Siasa Place. And our topic of discussion this morning is online safety for women legislators. Successful women tend to come under attack, and online attacks are the latest weapon unleashed on them. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Okay, start from the beginning and tell us more about what you do as the Executive Director at Siasa Place, and also how can women aspirants or women registrators stay safe online?
Thanks for having me. So the organization, Siasa Place, is a youth organization. We've been in existence since 2017 and actually formally registered in 2015. But what we do is youth inclusion in political processes. How we work with women parliamentarians, which is KEWOPA women parliamentarians, is the fact that we have a program where we're in partnership with Google and Twaweza Kenya and Code IP Africa. And it focuses on women's safety online. Because we work with youth very often, a lot of the engagement that is political has transitioned to online engagement. That also means there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, and the bullying that you have mentioned. And statistics do show that women leaders tend to be bullied much more. Also considering today we're seeing the UDA nominations. It is a party that has 5,000 people, aspirants, who are interested in becoming candidates. Out of that 5,000, 1,000 of them are women. This is the largest number of women in a political party going through political party primaries. So when you look at those figures, we have 4,000 men and 1,000 women. So it's very easy for women to be bullied much more because when you look at the political landscape, women are fewer. And we also saw it in a lot of images where there are the coalitions forming and a lot of people are questioning where is the gender balance. You tend to find a lot of political parties are led by men as well. So there's an imbalance. So what we do is train women on the avenues that are available for them to protect themselves. We push for laws and policies that allow women to be who they are online and not fear, because we have a lot of women not putting their campaigns online because they're afraid they're going to be trolled or bullied. And now because they do not have that visibility, you're not able to see the kind of work that they do. So we push for the encouragement and the safety of women online.
We'll continue with that and tell us the steps that you are taking to ensure these online spaces are safe for women. But before that, let's now cross over now to Nandi County, where our reporter Timothy Kipnusu is on standby. Kindly update us on the latest from your end, Kipnusu. I apologize for that technical hitch. We'll be linking up with our reporter Timothy Kipnusu, who is in Nandi County, just to tell us more about what's happening in that end. Continuing with our conversation on online safety for women, you've talked about avenues, training that you are or women are undergoing to ensure that they know how to be safe online. Maybe you can tell us more about the steps, or rather to ensure that these women are safe.
So interestingly, I know a lot of us, when we think about online, we think about Facebook or we think about WhatsApp. Those are the two main platforms that people utilize. Twitter, not as much as those two. So what we encourage is for people to use the steps. There are 3 little dots, even on WhatsApp right now, that you can click on, that you can report issues. Because what happens is these platforms are so widespread. 88.5% of our population uses Facebook. 88.8% of our population uses WhatsApp. But we see a lot of false information, a lot of insults, a lot of hate speech, but people do not report. So a lot of these social media handles or these social media companies are requesting for the public to have a responsibility. If you see someone is being bullied, if you see content that is graphic, if you see content that is false, report it, flag it, assist these platforms. So we're encouraging people to, one, report these issues. Another thing, a lot of times when updates happen on our WhatsApp, for instance, right now our updates come into our DMs, where there's a message that will come, but it doesn't force you to click on that message. So we're encouraging, especially young people, to click on these messages and read some of the agreements. You know, sometimes even when you open an email, you just go straight to the end of the text and click agreed, and you're not quite sure what you have agreed to. So this is another way that we can secure ourselves, because WhatsApp is constantly updating. Right now it's under Meta, which is now owned by Facebook, because they changed their names. So even Instagram, a lot of these platforms are under Meta. So they are utilizing these mechanisms for young people to be able to go and say, I have an issue with this content and this is something that needs to be flagged, because they are not able to see all this information coming at them, because we're talking about a population of over 40 million and sometimes even 20 million people are using the application at the same time. So reporting. And number 3 is not being quiet. Sometimes when we see women especially being cyberbullied, we tend to just watch it happen. We feel pity for her, and then we say, oh my goodness, I hope she's okay. And there are no people, or very few people, come out and say what you're saying is wrong, or what you're trying to instigate or propagate is not okay. We need, especially youth, to stand up and be vocal and say, we do not need to continue to speak to this level. Especially when we talk about women parliamentarians, there are a lot of cases of hacking. There are phones where you find you have maybe logged on through a public space, not utilizing your private domain, and someone is able to hack into your phone and get into information. We've seen pictures being shared that are now in the public space that would never reach public space if that individual knew that it was being shared. And those are some of the revenge issues that we have seen. So hacking is an issue, and we encourage especially women parliamentarians to use a 2-step authentication factor process, which basically means when you open your email address or when you have a social media account, you know, when you sign in, it normally asks you to confirm whether it's you. Can they send a message to your phone, to your email, or for you to use another password that has previously been sent to you? We're encouraging women to use this 2-step authentication, because what happens is when you're in the public, when you're in the limelight, it's very easy for people to hack your account. And if you don't have that 2-step, you won't be able to know once someone has tried. So that normally removes that step. It shows you someone has tried to enter your account, and you're able to see it show up immediately on your phone and say, no, that's not me, and report the issue immediately. But unfortunately, a lot of women don't know these processes.
And are women taking up these steps? And you've said women are not taking up these steps. How are you advocating for these women to ensure that they take these steps? And also, in the same breath, does the legal system maybe in any way give guidance on how some of these cases should be handled?
Those are good questions. So that's why we partner with Kenya Women Parliamentarians Association, where we are able to have sit-downs, trainings, and go through the particular steps that exist. And slowly, because a lot of them, even what I'm saying this morning, for some people, it sounds like I'm speaking another language. So being able to go through those steps slowly and showing them how. So those do exist. So there are a lot of workshops that we're doing. And another thing that especially Google Kenya is encouraging is the I Am Remarkable program, where they're encouraging especially marginalized communities and women to enter positions of leadership. A lot of them become afraid because they fear that they might be bullied. If I enter public office, I cannot manage, and all the other stereotypical issues that follow them. So trainings are important, and also working with them step by step. So it's sort of like a mentorship. So organizations that like mine that exist, the people that I work with are youth. I don't have anyone in my team who's above the age of 35 as we speak, and it's going to be that way for the future. So I have a team that understands these spaces very well. So being able to intern and work with individuals who maybe don't and work with them, and we call it reverse mentorship.
Okay, we'll come back now to the legal system. You're going to say something about that. But before we do that, let's cross over now to Kwale County, where O'Brien Kimani is on standby, and he is attending the Connected Kenya Summit 2022, which has been ongoing for the last 2 days, and today will be the last day. What's the latest from the Connected Kenya, O'Brien? Well, Kipnusu will be linking you with you up later on, but now continuing with our conversation on online safety with Nerima Wako, who is the Executive Director at aspirants. And we left off, or rather we pick up from about legal system to give guidance on how such cases should be handled. Is there any legal? Yeah.
Yes, there are laws that exist. There's the Computer Misconduct Act and also the cyberbullying, I think, Cyber Crimes Act. So the Cyber Crimes Act also exists, but the issue is it's very difficult to charge somebody because we have a constitution that permits you to have the freedom of speech and expression, and so it comes to where is it hate speech and where is it freedom of speech as well. And so I know we have seen NCIC sharing particular words that are considered hate speech, and we've seen people already taking some of those words to court. So when you talk about matters of existing crimes, when it comes to hacking or issues when it comes to fraud and things like that, the law is clear. But then when it comes to speech, which is what we've talked about, because a lot of women parliamentarians deal with bullying, it's not as clear. Or trolling, it is not as clear. But we have seen in our country bloggers being arrested because of particular stories that are not factual, but not necessarily arrested because of hate speech and bullying.
Okay, we'll come back to that conversation. Now Kipnusu is ready. Kipnusu, kindly update us on the latest from your end.
A very good morning to you.
5 p.m. Continuing with our conversation, you've had the Zipporah, that woman representative from Nandi, talking about the over 1,000 women who are vying for various seats. In 2017, we saw so many women did get backlashes, did get a lot of cyberbullying. What is being done right now to ensure that these women aspirants do not get the same kind of treatment they did in 2017 general elections?
There are a number of people who have started particular hashtags, which people should support. One is Heshimu Dada, where if you see a woman is being harassed online, is to use that particular hashtag and shame the individuals who are insulting women. And we saw a very classic case when we saw Mama Ngina Kenyatta being bullied, basically, with some of that terminology that was used. That's hate speech. And women came out to the fore, and there was actually a demonstration around that. So not being quiet about the entire situation, but also when things cross the line, report. I know an example is Honorable Millie Mabona. She did have to report because there was someone perpetrating her online on her Facebook account. So you do have to go to the police and report such instances, especially if it's likely to lead toward instigating violence. So a lot of women politicians also have to deal with pseudo accounts where it's not you and someone is pretending to be you and putting you in very precarious situations.
Okay. Do you think if the online space was safe, more women would be vying for various seat positions? Yeah?
Yes. I am not even someone who is vying, but I'm in the political space a lot, and I get trolled. And it's a very hard thing to go through because it's actually painful to have people who don't know you insulting you constantly. And as we see young women entering politics a lot of them from the first instance they are bullied, that completely demotivates them and they leave politics alone. So if we make online spaces safer, we will have more women coming to the fore and engaging. And it should be safe for everybody, not just for women.
Okay. As Siasa Place, are you lobbying maybe for the National Assembly to enact or revise or work on a legislation that targets technology-related violence?
Yes, I believe that the government does need to do more. Like earlier when I mentioned, there's not much around cyberbullying. We don't really have policies around that. We do have on misinformation or fraud or hacking. So we are pushing for the government to recognize that there are certain levels of bullying that need to be taken more seriously, and not necessarily just utilizing that particular law or act to harass and bully bloggers. Because what happens is, you find bloggers end up being bullied into harassment or even arrested because of a particular story, which sometimes is actually factual. So we are pushing for the government to utilize this information. And there are a lot of organizations that are collecting data, just basically saying in the year 2022, these are the number of women who are bullied online, just so that we show, according to data, this is why we need to do much more to protect women.
And then how then do we cultivate positive masculinity in the boy child or in the men, so that they can nurture the gains of these women?
It's all about the framing, because what we're talking about is respect. Everybody deserves respect in an online space. The same way what we are seeing online is what we see offline. If you see someone being beaten physically, what would you do about it? Even you as a young man, would you stand up and stop the situation even though you don't know them, because that's not the right thing to do in terms of resolving conflict? Or would you sit back and watch a defenseless woman getting beaten? So we know in the physical world, we would do something about it. We wouldn't just watch people behave in a certain way, and there's repercussions for that. It should translate to the online world as well. When you're watching someone being bullied, don't just sit quiet and watch it happen. And young men need to realize that what's happening in the physical happens in the online as well. And once we have a safe space for women, it's a safe space for everybody.
And you say that you are in partnership with KEWOPA,
Yes.
and also Google in
Kenya,
terms of mitigating the impact of these online trolls and cyberbullying. Are there other partnerships that you are looking as Siasa Place to ensure that more women are on board and get to be educated and trained on cyberbullying and hacking?
Yes,
and
we are hoping to enter a partnership with AMWIC, which is the Association of Women in Media in Kenya, and that's also because the same happens to women journalists. I don't need to say that to you, Carol. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And also in partnership with Dachawele DW, who has really been supportive in us training, especially student leaders. Because right now, look at UN. We have a female president, and she's likely to also to receive a lot of backlash and bullying. So targeting young women who have a high following online, that can also include celebrities. We also see singers, socialites also receive the same amount of bullying. And looking at different partners and stakeholders and inviting those who might be interested in terms of even youth groups to say that this sort of bullying must end, and it can only end with us when we're at the forefront as young people.
Okay. Earlier on, you did talk about the Cyber Crimes Act 2018, which outlaws abuse of people on social media. But then again, the implementation, has it been effective?
It hasn't been, because it's very difficult to measure at what point is someone bullying you, which is what I talked about, because now someone doesn't have to like you. You can't force everybody to like one another. And if they're insulting you, at what point are you crossing their freedom of expression, which is in our constitution, in the Bill of Rights, or are you allowing them to instigate violence on another person? So it hasn't been very clear. Though people have been able to use information from WhatsApp groups, Facebook, or even social media to report these instances to the police. A lot of times we do this because it could lead to violence. So you want to be able to have that evidence.
Thank you so much, Nerima Waka, who is the Executive Director at Siasa Place, talking about online safety for women legislators and also some of the various partnerships they are having as Siasa Place to ensure that women are not trolled online and they are safe and secure on the online spaces. Now we cross over